Dion Phaneuf actually was reaching for the linesman because he didn't want to get involved in the fight. But in terms of, Bill, I'm asking you now, it was said during the program that there was kind of I don't think it was an actual written mandate, but the linesmen have been told if you can get in there before the fight starts to do it.
Yeah.
And so whether or not this was kind of not the exact element of what we're talking about, because one of the participants may have gone out of his way to actually get the linesman to step in.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
We're stretching it a bit. In my opinion, the one combatant who is the captain of the team did not want any part of any fight at any point on the ice unless the guy was at least 4 inches shorter and 50 pounds lighter.
This is like in a courtroom. What you did was there's the if and all the potential situations. The prosecutor would have ripped the hole in that one.
Well, it's like Bill Clinton says, it depends on what your definition of is.
Okay.
But going back to this, like if you're the linesman, why save Phaneuf at that point? If your theory is correct, if what you've postulated, Mr. Waters, is correct, why save him? This is a heavyweight tilt. This is,
It's not a heavyweight
tilt. It is, as far as people who want to see it, yeah, this is like, like Iginla and Lecavalier in the Stanley Cup Finals, you know what I mean? Iginla and Lecavalier, when Calgary played Tampa in the Stanley Cup Finals, two big skilled players, they're about to throw down. It's not a staged fight, because I hate staged fights. I think they're kind of goofy in hockey. This is a real moment, a real emotional moment here, and people would have been talking about this for weeks, and you're the linesman and you step in just because Phaneuf looks a little nervous? No! Let him get his ass handed to him if it comes to that, but let the fans have the experience of seeing it.
Yeah, and Carlin, in fairness, most of those linesmen would love to have seen Phaneuf get but Phaneuf was well entrenched behind the linesman. Very comfortable. He got very comfortable. We knew the linesman had instructions not to let them go. And this all started because Phaneuf took a cheap shot run at Iginla. And when somebody does that, the result could be a concussion, a torn Achilles, a torn ACL, any kind of thing will put you out for 6 months. You have to answer that bell. And if you are the perpetrator of it, as Phaneuf was, you have to answer it as well. He will not answer the bell. He has no balls.
The funny thing about that fight is if you go back in time with Jarome Iginla, he was one of the original power forwards of his generation. I mean, a very, very gifted goal scorer, playmaker, but who could fight with the best of them.
He could defend himself, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Cam Neely-esque.
I don't, well, is he Cam Neely-esque?
Yeah, I think so.
Iginla?
Yeah, would you say he's of that?
And I'm not saying who was a better fighter, but he was Cam Neely-esque.
Yeah. Okay. All right. He's now with the Colorado Avalanche. He's bounced around a bit, but he's still got a bit there. I think got 2 points that night. They only scored 2 goals. He got 2 points. We talked about it the other day. I thought it was a great signing to help these young kids, and it looks to me like this team. For one thing, if Varlamov, is that his name? Semyon Varlamov.
Varlamov.
Yeah.
Not Harlem.
Varlamov with a V. Come on. Stay with me, Lefko.
If he was not in net that night, this is one of the if, the score would have been like 8-2 because they were getting a lot of shots and he was keeping them in the game. And meanwhile, Colorado was doing very little as the game progressed. But I like the fact that Jarome Iginla is there, showed his compete level, showed his willingness to want to fight, and if it rubbed off on any of these young kids, it's something that I thought was important in that game, certainly for Jarome Iginla, for that team knows this is why he's on the team.
Perhaps, and by that same token, on the flip side, if what Bill is saying is correct and Phaneuf's hiding behind linesmen, and he's the captain of the blue and white, what message does that send to a team that is still trying to find an identity, really? I mean, if you look at your captain, he's taking cheap shots and hiding behind people, doesn't that kind of devalue just your entire franchise? Does it demoralize people in the locker room, Bill?
Absolutely, Carlin. And it's like any sport. We've talked about this before. Leadership is defined by action, and he has none. He's just not the right guy, and you hate to keep dwelling on him, but here he is, and the fans are booing. And do you think they were booing the linesman? They knew what Phaneuf was doing.
Well, I think part of them were booing the linesman too, because like I say, they wanted to see the tilt no matter what, And if I'm the linesman, I dive out of the way if I have to at that point. I don't care if I get supplementary discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, You know, that was the one of Brian Burke's moves. You know, it was like 8 days after the season had ended. Dion Phaneuf had only been there, I'm going to say maybe 30 games, or if it was even that much. And he points him captain. And, Bill, is it the players who decide the captain, or is it the team that decides the captain?
In this case, it was pretty obvious.
But I'm saying, do the players, like if the captaincy is available for whatever?
When our captain was chosen, Sundin, that was a management appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a lot of cases now it is. In the case of Phaneuf, it certainly was. Phaneuf was a player who 29 teams in the league did not want. That included the team he was on.
Mm-hmm.
The Leafs were the only one that wanted him because Berkey wanted to make a big splash. And he made the big splash, and then Phaneuf got in a fight with a squirt, I think about third game in, and according to folklore, Berkey got a little excited about the fact that he beat up the squirt.
Mm-hmm.
And came into the coach's room and said, hey, this is our captain.
Then he changed the music in the locker room too, which that was what leaked out of the Star the next day. It's like, wow, he made a statement in the locker room by just walking up to the stereo and changing. I'm like, how is that a sign of leadership and a franchise?
That's a sign of ignorance, and you can figure it out from where it came.
Yeah, and that's a storied franchise. No,
whoever was writing it is ignorant of what, in fact, leadership is made of.
No, absolutely.